as an Afghan and Iraq veteran, I absolutely don't see him as a hero at all. I mean, all my heroes, we left them dead in the fields of Afghanistan and Iraq. And certainly today, I'm thinking about all my mates who never came back from Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm not thinking about him.
Since 2010, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has been front and centre of our headlines, but it does seem like this is winding down. Bringing in Hamish to Bretton-Gordon now for his reaction. Hamish, what's your reaction to the news today of Julian Assange's plea deal that will ultimately see him walk free?
Well, I think this is a pretty complex thing. And of course, it's been going on really since 2010, 2011, when WikiLeaks, under the control of Julian Assange, put so much valuable intelligence about US and British military onto the internet. And as an Afghan and Iraq veteran, I absolutely don't see him as a hero at all. I mean, all my heroes, we left them dead in the fields of Afghanistan and Iraq. And, some of the intelligence that was put on the internet was of use to the Taliban and Islamic State. And I think people must remember at the end of this, it would appear he is pleading guilty to the charge of espionage, which is what he's going to get his freedom for, having spent 5 years in Belmarsh. So, the claims that this was journalistic activity, I think just doesn't hold any water at all. Journalists have a responsibility, obviously, to report the truth and expose things that should be in the public domain. But what journalists must not do is to put the security of a country, this country in the US and others, at great danger by giving information that is useful to the enemy. So, yeah, I mean, if he's done his job and served his time, then so be it. But lest we forget and certainly today, I'm thinking about all my mates who never came back from Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm not thinking about him. So good riddance, in my opinion.
What kind of precedent does this set now in terms of national security and leaks, Hamish?
Well, I don't think it sets any precedent at all. I mean, at the end of the day, he has been avoiding justice for the last sort of 12 or 14 years. If he was absolutely sure of his innocence, he would have gone, and faced it in court for these espionage charges. And of course, the Swedes wanted to try him on various other charges as well, which he avoided doing. So I think, it is key, absolutely key, that journalists and all of us, are very careful about what we report and do. And if it is going to affect national security and the lives of those people, soldiers and security services who are there to defend us, then, people shouldn't do it. And if they do it, they should expect the full force of the law. So, the heroization of this fellow, I think, is completely wrong. And, I would like to take Assange to the streets of Sangin in Afghanistan and to Mosul when I was fighting Islamic State with the Peshmerga and show him, the evil that is perpetuated on some of the information that his organization supplied. So, yeah, let's draw a line on it and move on and just re-emphasize to people, we're lucky we live in a democracy here in Australia where you can protest about everything and just stop everything. But at the end of the day, people like me and those people who have followed me are here to protect, the UK and Australia and the US. And it's flipping difficult to do it, in normal times. But if you've got your hands behind your back and your enemy knows too much information about it, it makes it even worse. Democracy is something that we have to fight for rather than give it away. So, yeah, I think Assange has a lot to answer for. He apparently is pleading guilty to espionage. And as I said, so be it. Good riddance.
I've been very clear as both the Labor leader in opposition, but also as Prime Minister, that regardless of the views that people have about Mr Assange's activities, the case has dragged on for too long. There's nothing to be gained by his continued incarceration, and we want him brought home to Australia. And we have engaged and advocated Australia's interests using all appropriate channels to support a positive outcome, and I've done that since very early on in my Prime Ministership. I will have more to say when these legal proceedings have concluded, which I hope will be very soon, and I will report as appropriate at that time.
Hamish, why do you think this has happened now? Do you think that Julian Assange has Prime Minister Anthony Albanese to thank for barracking for him as the Prime Minister of Australia and that close relationship that Australia has with the United States? Obviously, we didn't really see Biden, looking to, I guess, free him. He's not exactly free if he's pleading guilty, but he is a free man. He'll be extradited back to Australia. But Biden said he would consider a plea deal, but it seems that Anthony Albanese is the man who really got it over the line. So is this the reason why this is happening now?
Well, I'm sure it is. And from what we understand, negotiations have been going on for a long time. Of course, Assange is an Australian citizen, and it is a duty of Prime Minister of Australia and all his ministers to look after his citizens. And no doubt, he has done that. And it's come at a time. It's taken a long time to do it. Assange has spent 5 years in Belmarsh, which appears to be the length of time, strangely, that the US courts would have given him for this particular crime. So, yeah, the timing is I think, is nothing significant, except it's taken that long to try and get a deal that the US government are happy with, the Australian government are happy with, and I suppose ultimately Assange is happy with as well. But let's not forget, he is pleading guilty.
Yeah. What will life be like for him back in Australia, Hamish? Is this the last we'll hear from Assange? Do you think that he will even go back to be a journalist?
Well, I don't know Assange. I know Australia, having lived there, and already the reaction to the piece I've written in the Telegraph this morning is actually really the tone that I'm giving you. I think it was interesting to hear Alexander Downer, the former Australian ambassador to the UK, saying this morning that just because he's an Australian doesn't mean to say he's a good bloke, and also saying he didn't think he'd get a terribly warm welcome in Australia. Yeah, he's now got his freedom. Let's hope he will do some good with the rest of his life, rather than trying to put people like me and others in danger to the enemies who would do harm to Australia and this country.
Well, he might have to slip into easy life in Townsville and croc country, as you would know it as. Hamish de Bretton-Gordon, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.